so thanks for having us. I'm Julia, this is Timur, and we're here to talk to you about a new approach to air travel that we call Fly Louie.
Commercial air traveling is often very difficult. You have long lines, you have delays, congestion, and flying to a remote location is often very difficult.
So what if you could have access to the speed and convenience of private travel, but for a more accessible price? Well, with Fly Louie, you can. The air charter space in the US is pretty interesting. It's about $10 billion in revenue, and it's highly fragmented. There are 2,500 plus operators, and 90% of them have 3 or fewer planes, so pretty mom and pop. And when they fly someone to a destination, the favorite example is New York to Palm Beach, they're going to fly that plane back home, and more often than not, it's empty. So you have 30 to 40% of planes that are flying are empty. You have idle inventory, and you also just have tightening margins. So those are the challenges for the charter operator. The commercial traveler, we're all familiar. It's not a fun process. And for the charter passenger, it's actually not so easy either. So you don't have a lot of access to buy-the-seat charter, which means you're relegated to buying the full plane, which is not inexpensive. And there's not a lot of transparency around pricing and availability. So our solution's Fly Louie. It's a platform for booking charter flights by the seat in real time on a select but growing number of routes. And for the charter operator, it's great because they're exposed to a new pool of passengers. And for the passenger, it's just more convenient. You're just going to get there more quickly. And we're able to do this at competitive prices by leveraging some of that empty leg inventory that we talked about in a variety of ways. And so one example is, on that example going to Palm Beach, the charter operator isn't quoting someone a 3-hour trip. They're quoting them a 6-hour trip to get the plane back home. But you as the passenger don't get the benefit of that because you're in Palm Beach. And we actually will. We're going to own and sell both sides of that trip and leverage that empty leg for better pricing.
We've done a lot of customer discovery, which was just confirmed by our test during the summer for a New York and Nantucket route.
And what we learned from that customer discovery is the Fly Louie customer isn't interested in the selfie on the tarmac or the custom glass of rosé, though those are terrific. What they want is they want to get there more quickly. And they're a price-sensitive, savvy traveler who's interested in transparency and ease and convenience. So maybe you're a charter traveler, you recognize the value of it. Why would you go with us instead of the other guys? Well, if you look at the high end of the market, you have folks like NetJets and Wheels Up who offer total luxury and convenience, and you pay for it. There's a high membership fee and a high cost per hour. You have other folks doing by the seat like we are, like Blade or JetSmarter you might have heard of. JetSmarter also has a meaningful membership fee that you need to overcome. And then on Blade, they're terrific. They have generally shorter haul and a preference toward helicopters. And regardless, we beat them all on price in Nantucket this summer. So let's talk about Nantucket. We had an opportunity to actually test this. We built our website. We got a couple operators on board, and we were able to sell seats. And that was really exciting. And we learned a ton through this test. And I'd say the most compelling learning for us was that the person who was booking through us and flying with us wasn't comparing us to commercial options on price. They were comparing us to the next most affordable charter option, and we were really able to play in that space. So Nantucket was great. We're now looking at what routes we might expand to, and we're thinking about the Colorado ski mountains for a few reasons. Colorado ski mountains are difficult to get to. There's large volume that goes there. And you also have behavior around second homeowners and folks that'll just go multiple times in a season. One of the things that would be really exciting about this test is that we are engaged with Kayak so we could start targeting not just the profile of person that we think is a consumer, but also behavior. So someone who's searching origins and destinations that are related to our routes could be served our ads. In terms of the route selection, we really had 3 main criteria. What's the business class ticket today? So that'll go up. What are the volumes and demand on commercial going there? And what's the volatility in price? If we're going to own both sides of that route, we want to be able to sell both sides of that route. And so we used kind of stability in pricing to help inform that. And Chicago and Dallas came out as leading origins. In terms of the financials, I'd say the key thing to focus on is what are we charging and what's it going to cost us from the operator side of things. We're forecasting $850 to $900 a ticket, and that we'd be paying about $575. In terms of the team and advisors, Timur and I have been working closely on this. I have experience growing a young startup. Timur's well established in data and in finance, and we have a terrific board of advisors. So Dayton has been with the Department of Transportation, was with the Department of Transportation for 20 plus years, regulating charter by the seat, these exact issues. And Brendan's been with FlexJet and Flight Options for 15 plus years, and they have $1 billion aviation portfolio. And then you'll just see below all the different companies we've been talking to, some of whom are operators that we'd look to partner with, and other ones are folks that are disrupting the space and having success, and they've been great to learn from. That is it. Thank you. You're welcome. Questions?
Hi, Julia.
Hi.
So can you tell me about how do you go about sourcing the particular aircrafts that you're using? Clearly, that's a key part to building a brand in the safety aspect. And so how do you go about diligencing this, since clearly you are not owning and operating the planes?
So a few different things. It's a really good question. So we go out of our way to emphasize, first of all, that we're a broker and not an operator. And in terms of sourcing the operators, there are some signals to see what kind of operator they are. So you can look at their safety history, but also their Argus and Wyvern classifications and safety ratings that they have to comply with, and some are gold, some are platinum, and so those are good markers for the operator that you might want to pair with.
Thank you.
Sort of going off of that, my question's on your competitive edge on the supply side. Can you talk a little bit about your relationships with those aircrafts and how you can maintain that level of exclusivity on the inventory that you're filling?
Yeah, it's a good question. So with Nantucket, we didn't have a lot of exclusivity. We were just one of the few that was really focused exclusively on empty legs, and that was a nice deal. So the operators that we were working with, they also weren't making us pay for the whole flight. We were just paying, if we sold a seat, then we paid them for their share, and then we took a commission on top of that. You won't always get to have that opportunity, and so in Colorado, one of the things that we're considering is actually owning the flight, so buying it, which also takes out disintermediation, and it means that you can also promote the flight further in advance on your website because you own it. So they're happy to sell you the flight, and to the extent we work with a limited number of operators, that also gives us some pricing leverage with them to say, hey, I'm going to be buying 3 planes from you over the next 3 weeks, and so what can we do on the cost per hour?
Great, and just to follow up, are you taking beta testers? Just kidding.
Oh, always beta testers.
From a competitive standpoint, what's the barrier of entry for competitors for you, since you don't own or operate the flights, and therefore you're simply trying to acquire flights in terms of keeping down someone who is a far better financed or a nuanced competitor coming into your space?
Sure, so it's a great question. It's something we think a lot about, and if I'm honest, that we're still working through as we understand this offering as we expand it to other routes. One of the things there's a lot of regulatory here, so if you are buying the plane and then reselling it, you actually need to be a public charter, and so there are financial and regulatory requirements to kind of clear that hurdle, which we are going through and we're confident that we can do, and it's really just mostly financial and having collateral for a bond, and we've already cleared that hurdle. So that helps to keep some other folks out of the space. As we focus exclusively on empty legs, it's challenging. It's a perishable item, and a lot of folks have struggled with it. And so we think by consolidating empty legs along specific routes, we're able to resolve some of those issues. But it's tough work, and it's not also super sexy. And so I think that's some of what's kept other folks out of that. Other questions? Thanks.